A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Today is 10th November 2020. Day is Tuesday. I am free. It's because I am always running, has been said by Jimi Hendrix. What is the meaning of this quote? The meaning of this quote is that if you are running, if you are marching ahead, if you are moving on, doing something that will add value to your life or, add value to your work, then you are free. You will enjoy the freedom. If you are stuck somewhere, then you will not enjoy the freedom. That's what I think Jimi Hendrix is trying to tell us. With this, dear friends, we have 5 important articles on our table. The first one is no fireworks. This one is about NGT prohibiting use as well as sale of firecrackers in various different parts of our country. It's about air pollution. Then the second one is about Joe Biden and India's foreign policy concerns. The third one is about air pollution again. The fourth one is about the lessons that we can learn from Vietnam and Bangladesh. And the fifth one is about Ethiopia. Dear friends, a big news, a big Diwali sale is on all our smart courses. Flat 50% discount is available on all our smart courses. And you will get 10% extra discount when you use this Diwali 10 code. So make the most out of this big Diwali sale. This is going to last till 17th November only. To find out more about our smart course, to find out more about big Diwali sale, all you have to do is download our mobile application. Now, dear friends, the first one, no fireworks. Now, NGT, that is National Green Tribunal, it has prohibited the sale as well as use of firecrackers in Delhi NCR region, plus all those urban centers, all those cities whose air quality was poor or worse in November 2019. So if your last year's November's air quality in your city was either in poor or worse category, then in your city as well, NGT has banned sale as well as use of firecrackers. Now, the directions provide some concessions to cities and towns that have moderate or better air quality by allowing green crackers and specified hours for bursting. Now, the big question that I would like to ask, or the big question that troubles me, is that what about implementation? I don't think so we would be able to see that sort of implementation. The reason I'm saying this thing is because last year Supreme Court came out with a deadline. It specified hours for bursting crackers, but it was bluntly, I would say, violated throughout our country. So this year as well, it looks very difficult. I'm not sure how we are going to implement it. I don't think so we have enough police that can keep an eye on your whole city or your town, right? Of course, if they will catch you, then you will be punished. I'm not sure how severe is the punishment is going to be, but if you will catch, they will file few cases for sure. But I think overall we will see a spike in air pollution because of firecrackers. And it's not just NGT that has banned, even Kolkata High Court. Then you find government of Odisha, Rajasthan, Sikkim, Chandigarh, Delhi Pollution Control Committee, etc. They have also banned firecrackers this year. And the main reason is air pollution. Now, only damage control is possible now, including steps to address the concerns of the fireworks industry. There are so many people, there are so many owners of this firecracker factories, and so many people are working in firecracker factories. So if you are keeping or placing a ban on the sale as well as use of firecrackers, then of course we should be careful about or sensitive about firework industry as well. Now, we have one program in our country. We are going to talk about it in detail. There are a few additional points, but just keep this thing in mind, that National Clean Air Program that is going on in our country. The target of this NCAP, or National Clean Air Program, is to reduce particulate matter by 20 to 30% by 2024. Okay. Now, if we analyze this year's air pollution so far, then we found 148 days, right? By the government's own admission, there were 148 days of poor to severe air quality during 2019 in the NCR, down from 206 days the previous year. Now, one reason for, this year air quality nearby NCR region is going to be a bit good. The reason is 2 months of lockdown, right? And one more thing, it's not just NCR region, it's not just Delhi that is having one of the most polluted air in the world, but there are so many other cities, there are so many other towns, but because Delhi is our capital most of the time, it receives a huge amount of attention. Everything is, looked via magnifying glass, but other cities, they get very less attention. Now, Tamil Nadu is a state where you find 90% of firecrackers that we find in our country, 90% of them are produced in Tamil Nadu. Sivakashi is a very famous region, isn't it? And it produces some 2003 crore worth of firecrackers every year. So we need to look after this industry as well. Yes, if you are going to ban, then we have to look after the Diwali of these people who are working in this region and entrepreneurs as well as stakeholders. One more thing that we need to do is Sivakashi is a region that is heavily dependent on fireworks. And in future, if we don't find some innovative fireworks that are clean or green, then this thing is going to die. This product is going to die, right? People are going to get rid of it because of pollution. So either they can innovate, they can use those sort of chemicals that will create zero harm as far as air pollution is concerned. At the same time, there is one thing that I would like to add on here is sound pollution. Right? We don't generally talk about sound pollution in our country, but sound pollution is a big mental harasser. It creates huge amount of stress in many people, and animals, just imagine, they can hear louder than us. So big bombs and everything that we use, big firecrackers, they are going, they are like they leave a sort of mental scar in animals and birds. So sound is again a thing that is not taken. Sound pollution is something that we don't take that seriously in our country, but I think in future this is going to be a big issue. So yes, innovation is required here. If we can have more lights rather than sound, and if we can have green crackers, then these crackers will survive, or else we have to find some other sectors or profession for people of this region. If you want to download the PDF of today's lecture, check out my Telegram channel. You can follow me on Facebook as well. Hit the like button if you have learned something from today's discussion. Please don't forget to share this lecture with other students and hit the subscribe button as well. Now we know that Mr. Trump is going to go out and Mr. Biden is coming in as far as White House or presidency is concerned. Now, I don't think so many people will miss Mr. Trump, particularly in India. Yes, if we talk about Saudi Arabia, then Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is going to miss Mr. Trump, and of course Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu. He is going to badly miss Mr. Trump because he took so many decisions that are clearly in favor of Mr. Netanyahu as well as Saudi Kingdom. Mr. Trump hated Iran more than Palestine, more than this Israeli government or Saudi Arabia. And I would like to remind you that Mr. Trump was very rude with India as well. We have good relationship. We tried our best to have as good relationship as possible. But I would like to remind that a very bad behavior of Mr. Trump when he said that if India will not provide us hydroxychloroquine, then it will have to face consequences. He threatened us, and this is not this is not how it works. When it means if you want something, then you can ask. You cannot just act like a bully. So this was Mr. Trump's legacy. Now, the Saudis and Mr. Netanyahu cannot be sure what policy President-elect Joe Biden will adopt on the questions of West Asia peace plans and the nuclear deal with Iran. The only real achievement as far as foreign policy is concerned, of Mr. Trump is considered this Abrahamic or Abraham Accords, or overall this West Asia peace agreement between Bahrain, UAE with Israel, and there are other countries that are going to join it, isn't it? They are going to recognize Israel. So this is considered as one of the biggest, but nobody talks about one of the worst. That is, USA was a country that was like an empire between Palestine and Israel. But under Mr. Trump's tenure or regime, it clearly started favoring Israel, and going against Palestine. So this is, I believe, one of the worst. It means trust issue. Now, who will trust USA in future? So the damage is already done. Now, it will take huge amount of lifting for Biden administration to win the trust again. Now, as far as India is concerned, there are two things. Yesterday we talked about, this is number 2, Iran. We have already talked about it yesterday. Number 1 is going to be China. And when it comes to China, one thing that, of course, we have to talk about is Quad, right? Made up of 4 countries, USA, Australia, Japan, and India. Now, in the Trump years, India got into a pretty close embrace with the USA. We have signed this foundational agreements with USA, that is Comcasa, then Becca, and there is one more, Limoa, right? Limoa. So we have signed this foundational agreements, and as far as military hardware is concerned, we have purchased huge amount of products and services from USA. As far as Quad is concerned, the main engine of Quad is China. The reason is that it is this China or misbehavior of China that is working or acting as a glue, and that is binding all these 4 democracies together. And the main purpose of Quad or rejuvenation of Quad, the main reason is to control China. So the question is how successful Quad will be in controlling China. Now, they are also talking about this thing that Quad, at present it is more government to government. In future, you can add more institutions, you can add more countries like Taiwan and South Korea can become part of Quad. Then you will expand the supply chain. Yesterday in Daily Financial News Analysis, we were talking about this India, Japan, Australia. They are planning to expand a global supply chain, and they are trying to get on board ASEAN nations. So this will also boost Quad. But anyway, when it comes to Quad, right, if something goes wrong, let's imagine that, but God forbid, but if there is a sort of battle in South China Sea, then Quad nations or the other 3 nations, they will expect India to join them to fight against China. But when it comes to India-China issue, right, it's a continental thing. Continental means it's going on land, right? We share a land boundary with China. We are the only country that share land boundary with China. Other 3 nations, they are just part of Indo-Pacific. So we can sort out this thing with China bilaterally, and we don't want to drag this India-China standoff forever. It's not going to be helpful for China. It's not going to be helpful for India, because it's going to drain so much of our resources, human capital, as well as money and material. Now, the second topic is about Iran. Already I have explained to you about Iran yesterday. I displayed a map as well, in which we talked about IRNSTC, then Chabahar port, and so many other things. So not repeating those things. Of course, we want to buy Iranian oil. It's cheaper in price. We can pay in rupees. So that's a positive thing with Iran. We want to sell our pharmaceutical products to Iran. We want to sell our basmati and other things to Iran for sure. And we would like to invest more in oil exploration. We would like to invest in building this rail network in Iran, and so these are the things that these are the areas or sectors in which we are interested. I'm sure that Biden administration will allow us, and it will not apply this Katsa. Katsa is a sort of sanction that was, again, this law was designed by Trump administration. So I'm sure we will not see this Katsa sword on our neck when it comes to India-Iran relationship. So that's it as far as this topic is concerned. Now let's talk about one more topic that is associated with air pollution. Now NCAP, I already gave you a brief about NCAP, isn't it? So NCAP, keep this thing in mind that NCAP is going to reduce this particulate matter by 2024 up to 20 to 30, somewhere between 20 to 30 p.m. Will be reduced, but the base year is 2017. Keep this thing in mind, right? This is very important. Now, in February 2020, Nirmala Sitharaman ji announced a 4,400 crore package for 2020-21 to tackle air pollution in 102 cities of 102 most polluted cities of our country. Now, if we go through the figures, then we find that out of this 102 cities, right, only 15 states and 42 cities have received roughly half of the amount that was announced. Rest of them, they are going to get it in January, hopefully, if their performance is up to mark. Now, the thing is, if you want to analyze, if I want to see your performance, then I need to have some sort of data about you, some sort of information about you, isn't it? If I know that last year your educational or academic performance was good and this year you are better, then for that I have to compare your data with last year and the year before that. The problem in our country is that there are so many cities, we don't have any sort of data about those cities. We don't have adequate, I won't say technology, but I would say we don't have adequate tools or equipments deployed in various different cities that can monitor air quality. An analysis by research agencies, Carbon Copy and Respire Living Sciences recently found that only 59 of 122 cities had PM 2.5 data available. So roughly you can say 50% cities we have out of this 100, we have more than 122 cities in our country, but here we are talking about, this research is talking about 122 cities. So if you divide it, then we are talking about what, less than 50% cities, they have this tools through which we can know their PM 2.5 data. And historically cities have been using manual machines. Now we are living in a digital world, so manual machines are not going to help us. We need up to date, state of the art devices and tools through which we can collect data about our cities. You know, if you don't know your problem, then how you are going to solve it? And it's not just money that will help you, right? Money alone doesn't work. We have good example of National Capital Region. That Ministry of Agriculture spent 600 crore rupees. It gave this subsidies and equipments and so many things to the farmers of Punjab and Haryana. But this year we are witnessing stubble burning again. So money is not the only tool. Money is important, but money alone will not work, right? We have to make the stakeholders our partners. We have to work at various different level, construction. And then, there are, like I gave you example of Thar Desert, isn't it? That people are illegally mining and they are destroying this Aravalli range. And because of that thing, this dust particles from Thar Desert, they are found in Delhi and other parts of our country. And they are destroying agriculture, they are destroying our air quality and so many other things. So just one thing will not work, right? It's always, when it comes to this sort of problems, holistic approach. Bring all the stakeholders on board and then work on it, or, fight with it on a war mission. Moving on, lessons from Vietnam and Bangladesh, right? What are the things that we can learn from Vietnam and Bangladesh as far as trade and exports and business is concerned? This article is written by Ajay Srivastava. And Ajay Srivastav is an Indian Trade Service Officer. Now, if you see Bangladesh, then Bangladesh is number 2 when it comes to apparel or garment exports. Right? Number 1 is China, number 2 is Bangladesh. Vietnam's exports have grown by 240% in past 8 years. Both the nations are on your screen, so I don't have to throw more light on Bangladesh. I'm sure you know where Bangladesh is and some other important facts with Bangladesh, associated with Bangladesh, right? As far as Vietnam is concerned, I would like to throw some light on this country. So this country is a country of Southeast Asia. It shares its boundary with the South China Sea. When it comes to land boundaries, it shares its boundary with Cambodia. Then you have this Laos here, and Thailand, of course, and China. Okay, and the capital is Hanoi. And then you have one more big city, famous city known as Ho Chi Minh City. And you have a very famous river. The mouth of this river is here. It is called Mekong, right? This region is Mekong Delta, and this is Mekong River originating from Tibet and ending here in South China Sea. And the last country is Vietnam. Now, first of all, let's talk about Vietnam. The main reason for success of Vietnam is a free trade agreements with all major blocs. Like it has a free trade agreement with the USA, with EU, with China, Japan, South Korea, India, and so many other nations. So an open trade policy, a less inexpensive workforce, and generous incentives to foreign firms contributed to Vietnam's success. I'm sure you know what free trade agreement is. If not, then let me tell you that FTA, free trade agreement, means a free trade agreement means that, let's say, if you have we have this FTA between India and Vietnam. So free trade agreement means if I buy or if we purchase something from Vietnam, if we are importing something from Vietnam, then there will be no customs duty, or there will be no import tax or import duty on the products that are coming from Vietnam. And same thing is vice versa, right? If we are selling something to Vietnam, then they cannot they cannot apply any import duty or import tax or customs duty. Okay, so free trade agreement this is how it works. Nearly 70-80% of products, right, they are duty free under free trade agreements. Now Vietnam's domestic market is open to partners products, and for example 99% of EU products will soon enter Vietnam duty free, because a few months ago Vietnam had signed a free trade agreement with European Union. Now, Vietnam has agreed to change its domestic laws to make the country attractive to investors. Foreign firms can compete for local businesses. Foreign companies can compete or take part in electricity, real estate, hospital, defense, railways projects, etc. And it sounds so good, isn't it? And India cannot do this thing because India is a democracy. Whilst Vietnam is a single party state, so it can ignore domestic voices, but here in India it is not possible. And I don't think so it is viable as well as sustainable. Last year, Vietnam received investments exceeding $16 billion. And as a result, Vietnam's exports rose from 83.5 billion in 2010 to 279 billion in 2019. And there are so many big brands they are operating in Vietnam. But one thing that you have to keep in mind is that it looks big, right? The numbers, they look big, but we have to keep in mind that it is not just the numbers. The reality is that, are you designing the products, right? Are you just assembling the products? So if you're assembling, let's say, if you're making iPhone, right, then if the screen is coming from China and battery is coming from Japan and something else is coming from South Korea, and then you're doing something else, you're adding few things, but predominantly you are assembling all these products. So because this final product will leave your country, right, you'll be last country for this final product, or this last chain, or second last chain as far as consumer is concerned. If you consider consumer or the consuming country, if you are second last, then it's of course going to look big. The number is going to be big, isn't it? That you are selling more products or your exports are big, but in reality you are assembling. So that's what Vietnam means. This is how things are going on in Vietnam. One more thing with Bangladesh. Now Bangladesh is one of the least developed countries in the world. So EU allows import of apparel and other products from least developed countries like Bangladesh duty free. Same thing goes with USA. So Bangladesh is working smartly it is using its LDC, but this is going to end in few years because of huge amount of garment exports. Bangladesh and the people of Bangladesh, their way of living, their living standard is increasing. So maybe in few years time it will be out of this category of least developed nations. So good thing for Bangladesh. But what we can learn from Bangladesh is that it supports big firms, right? Large firms. When you support large firms, of course, we need to support small firms as well. But when you support large firms as well, these large firms, they have this market segment capacity. They can scan and analyze the market. They have long arms. They can reach to any country. They can reach to any nook and corner of your country, and they can build brands. So this is the biggest benefit or benefits of large firms. Small firms as well thrive. Once you have 2-3 large firms, then other suppliers like small firms, they will be their suppliers, and they will also make money out of it. Now Vietnam, coming back to Vietnam, as I told you, that what you need to look at is net dollar gain. So if you're just assembling, the net dollar gain is going to be small. Now, we also have to keep this thing in mind that Vietnam exports happen in 5 sectors only. Most of Vietnam's export. When it comes to India, our exports are very diversified. Same thing like China, USA, right? Our EGR means export to GDP ratio. Vietnam's export to GDP ratio is 107%. That means if there will be any sort of ups and downs, if there will be any downs, then it is going to hit Vietnam very badly. If you see big countries like USA, Japan, India, China, then our EGR is in double digit, and it's very 18.5 and 18.7 and 18.4. So if there are ups and downs in global market, then that's not going to affect us that much. On top, what we believe in our country is organic economic growth. This sort of support, aggressive support by government, it looks good, it has good pickup, but it lacks stamina. And here our focus is organic economic growth through innovation and competitiveness. So I think we are in a right track. The last one is about the war within. This one is about a country called Ethiopia. Addis Ababa is the capital, and you can see that it is sharing its border with many other countries. Now, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, he received a Nobel Peace Prize in 2019 because of his the way he developed his relationship with Eritrea. Eritrea is another tiny country of Africa here. But now his country is in news. He is in news because he said that he's going to bomb this Tigray region. Tigray or Tigrayans. Tigrayans are people or community. It's an ethnic community. Just like we have caste system in our country, African nations, they have this ethnicity is one of the most important things. So they have different communities, right? And there is always a power struggle. Most of the time there is a power struggle between various different communities. The reason why I'm discussing this thing is because every year in prelims examination, right, they ask you this question about ethnic community, global ethnic community. So I remember questions like they ask you questions on Maoris, right? They are from which part, or like New Zealand, and they ask you for. So you will find A and B, and then you have to match the following. So if you find these names, Tigrayans and Oromos, then keep in mind that they are from this nation called Ethiopia, right? So keep this thing in mind. Oromos and Tigrayans. Tigrayans, they make up roughly 6% of Ethiopia's 110 million population, but they have enjoyed huge amount of influence. And Oromons, they are the largest ethnic group, but they complain that they are marginalized. So it's a power struggle that's going on. But rather than bombing, the best thing for Mr. Abiy is going to be discussing issues with other communities on the table rather than hitting them, right? So that's everything from my side. I'll see you soon with daily financial news analysis. These are some news items, and to make the most out of this big Diwali sale. I'll see you soon. Enjoy your studies. God bless you all. Jai Hind.